Okay, so now in this meeting, we are going to start the further part of the cybersecurity. So we started with the network security first because we know that the very first attack surface in any cybersecurity is our network only. Now we have to also understand with the network there are few security protocols, security things are also available. So we started discussing those points. So let me just share the screen and then we can discuss further. So I think this is visible now. Okay. So can you please see this as a full screen? Okay. So see, there are certain CLI commands, command line interfaces from where we can run these commands to check whether my network is active or not. So for all these, we need to understand that how can we confirm whether particular host is active or what is the configuration routing table and what are the other commands through which I can understand various network related settings which are available. And then I can trace out the network. I can understand what is configurations. So through configurations, we get IP addresses and other things. And then there is flush DNS where we can simply use this uh, DNS setting or DNS configuration. We can just go for the re-resolving of it. So sometimes if DNS fails or DNS changes, so we can use that. And then further we started with this Wireshark tool. So Wireshark tool in the last training session we did how can we use Wireshark tool to understand what are the packets flowing in my network who are connected, and I can use any interface like LAN or Wi-Fi interface to capture the network packets. So here, if your packets are not encrypted, then anyone who is having this kind of access via Wireshark or any other PCAP software, which is packet capturing software, can go can see the data. So that is why encryption or hashing is ensuring the integrity of the system. So integrity is referring to this encryption part. So so till now we did what we did the Wireshark thing, and in that activity I have also we talked about um, uh, use VM or via VirtualBox. So whenever you are trying to use anything, so make sure you use it in the VirtualBox, and you can install any machine, any Linux. Probably you can start with uh, Kali or Ubuntu, or there is another distros like Red Hat Linux. So Red Hat Linux is there. There is enterprise version of it, REHEL. So many other things are there. So we can use it into VM. Always use sandbox environment. Don't expose your own machine. So few things that you should know while performing any task. Okay, so be cautious to remove any custom settings after practice. So these are the things that we should always consider, and so that while performing anything, it should not harm our machine or our system. Okay, so we need to understand how this goes. So already we talked about the routers. How does router look like? So there are multiple types of routers. Level-wise routers are there. They are also called as three-layer switches because they can access up to network level. So it is also referred as three-layer switches. Then there is domain name. So we talked about domain name system, which is called as DNS. DNS is one of the server machine. Similarly, it is available for global also. And whenever our system sends any name, then domain returns what the respective IP of that domain. So this is why DNS is important. And even at a global level, we have up to 13 main DNS server. Worldwide, we have 13 as the main DNS level. Okay. So today we'll talk about DNS also. Then we go to what is botnet, certain terminologies. So botnet are the nothing but the different computers which are hosted by attacker, and they may have the malicious things like Trojan horse, phishing, brute force. So this is another malware which is Trojan horse. Then there is phishing. So phishing mail is there, whaling is there. Then there is malicious code, which is loaded in a pen drive. This is for the brute force. So if any physical access is there, then also there is possibility that one can brute force the system. So that is why even at a physical level, systems uh, safeguarding is required. Then network security control. So we know that network security control is what? It is the major, or it is the remedy which are employed to enhance the security of the network. So how do we ensure that? We can use the firewalls. Okay, so firewall are what? They protect the outer internet to your network. So it will decide which packets will come inside in your network. Then IDS system is the monitoring system and detecting system. Monitoring and detecting system. And honeypot is the like a kind of chest with malwares. So honeypot is actually luring the various uh, computers to take these uh, packets, and then those are infected actually. So this is let's see them how is it there. So how do we ensure the security control at firewall level? So at firewall level, we can create the rules. So there are the rules inside the firewall. These rules are actually very highly important, and they should be reviewed on regular basis, and we should know only which particular packets are allowed. So whatever is traffic is there, good traffic, they will be allowed to the through the firewall. And if there is bad traffic means it is not related to me, then it will be blocked at this level. at the firewall, and no access will be given to the bad traffic. So it is blocked. This one is allowed and second one is blocked. So this can be done via rules. So there are several firewall rules. How to make the firewall rules, that we'll see some sample of it. So there are various organizations and various industry players which are available into the firewall, and like Cisco, like Palo Alto, then there is F5, Juniper. So there are many other. These are the famous ones. There are many other firewall providers where we can have the devices of. Okay. So this is a bigger architecture, which is actually saying that there are multiple uh, higher level of this. So here you can see the internet is there. Then we have the routers here. Different routers are there. All these are routers, switches. All these are connected together. So traffic can move from any place to next place. Now our job is to ensure that only respective traffic enters in our system. So that can be done by firewall. So as you can see, some examples I can show you here, that if there is a firewall perimeter, let's say there is DC1 or internet. DC1 is wide area network, so here it is like internet, and here we are having the routers, and from the routers, let's say your firewall is present here. So all the traffics are coming to this. Now we have two things here, how the applications are arranged. So there is layer of different layers. Okay. So whenever there is internet, from internet you have the zoning level. Okay. We have to divide our network into the zone. So some are internet facing, internet facing. Some applications will be internet facing. Some are non-internet facing. So in the internet facing, we call them as DMZ. DMZ stands for demilitarized zone, and other one is called as non-DMZ. So when we are into DMZ, so DMZ is actually having the to manage the traffic. We can have a load balancer. Then from there we can have a route firewall, and from in firewall, then we can have some DMZ type of applications. Okay, so firewall will give, and it will give the DMZ level internet facing, whatever is there, internet facing apps, and there are some non DMZ. What is internet facing app? Maybe web apps. And what is in the non DMZ? In the non DMZ, we are having applications. We can have database server. We can have any other uh, storage, like so all these are non-DMZ. So we have to make sure your internet is not exposed to this. Why? Because what these are the backend services which can be required to this web access. So first internet is coming, everything is going here. Anything required, then that communication will be between DMZ and non-DMZ. There should not be any communication between internet to non-DMZ directly. So that is why firewall will keep this separation. So we know that where is DMZ, where is non-DMZ, and accordingly, your servers, your systems, these are available here. So this is DMZ zone, demilitarized zone, where we can get the internet coming from the firewall. And here, this side, there is non-DMZ. Okay, so this is how the division is. Always understand, internet comes here inside our system or in any organization. So we have to categorize them, our infrastructure, into DMZ and non-DMZ. Then only we can place the proper firewall load balancer. So many time in uh, understanding any architecture, it is required. For any interview questions, it is required. They ask what are the different tiers or level of this, so that is also available. So is it okay? Are you understanding this? Can we proceed further?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now we'll continue our discussion with the firewall. Okay, so when we try to start with any firewall, like let us say I want to set up a firewall, so we must understand how firewall rule works. So in the firewall rule, we have different varieties. Okay, so let's say I have a firewall here. Then here I have a web server, and this is firewall. And outside we have internet. So anything coming from outside to inside to this web server, then we have to define the policy or network policy or rules. So policy or rules will be defined at these instances, and we should know that how exactly this comes. Okay, so for this we'll be having firewall. Okay, so uh, this particular thing will have two table. One is called as incoming and another is called as outgoing. So incoming and outgoing. So whenever I have this incoming and outgoing, I have to decide this, which traffic can come inside, which traffic can go outside. Okay, so for incoming traffic, we call this as ingress. There is another term here when it is called as ingress. And outgoing, we have egress. Ingress and egress. This is also traffic. So incoming and outgoing. So let's say we have to decide that uh, uh, which packets come inside through firewall to this web server. So for that, we can decide what is my source, what is my destination, and which at which port it should come. So whenever internet comes, then we have to use the IP addresses. When the internet enters into the system, then packet should be delivered to respective services. Now those services are actually defined by the ports. Okay, so ports are there. So see, we have to create a socket address. Socket address is what? IP address plus port address. So I'll just go back a bit. So here in TCP, as you can see, uh, we know that from this protocol layer, we have different layers. So we have physical layer. Just a minute. I have to start marking. Okay, I think this is not visible. So I just need to.
Visible.
Okay, so um, yeah, so I have physical layer, then there is data link layer, then there is network layer, and after that we have transport layer. So we are using this transport layer, and then there is session, then there is presentation and application layer. So network layer gives IP address, and transport layer gives what? They give this TCP and UDP headers. So via TCP header, we get what? We get the source and destination port addresses. So we get port address. So together, if we use the IP address plus port address, so together is it becomes socket address. So this is what is required at every computer. Let's say your internet packet has come, but it should be, and it has detected your computer because of this IP address. Because whenever you join, you have an IP address, so that's okay. But your computer has been like found. Now within your system, where this packet is to get delivered is because of this destination port or destination port number. So this port number has to be there. Then only we can know that where is it going to end. So let's say you have a desktop here or computer here where you are have several applications running. So port will decide whether to end up to any Chrome or any browser, or whether to end up to any file transfer protocol, and whether to end up to any SMTP or mail transfer protocol. Chrome means HTTP. So where to end this traffic, that depends upon the type of port address we are using. So that is why port address is essential. Okay. So now let us go back to our firewall rule creation, where we want to understand how exactly we are going to place the firewall rules. So here, whenever we want to place the firewall rule, we have source, destination, and this service or port addresses are required. So if we put any, so that is called as any rule. And this is most dangerous rule. So every time we have to understand how to use this rule or these things properly. So that is why any rule matters. So first of all, we'll understand this port, because source and destination will have what? IP addresses. But we have to understand ports. So uh, there is a body called as Internet Assigned Number Authority, IANA. So IANA is actually using the registered port terms. So there are various ports which are registered ports. Okay. So total there is how many ports? There are 65,535 number of ports. possible. So out of these many ports, from 0 to this, these are the port range. So port is the a particular place where your service type, where your data or traffic is going to end or going to originate, both. So here we have 0 to 1024, means first 1024 ports are assigned to well-known ports. These well-known ports are actually covering all the important things. Then we have registered port which are from 1024 to 49151. And from 149, 152 onwards to this, they are called as dynamic or private ports. So dynamic private ports means they are used as and when they are required by the services. Sometimes we want to communicate with any other service, so I will open one more port. Okay, so it is like accessing point to my applications. And registered port, again we can, if you want to use this, you have to register this port with your system. And well-known port are no need to register; they are already identified and they are very regularly in use. So there are few ports that you need to know, because whenever we want to have any security, we have to understand that which port should be open to the internet and which port should not be. Because if you open the wrong port facing to the internet, then easy attacks can be done. So that is why we have to make sure that proper ports are open to the internet traffic. Otherwise, they means attackers will get very easy access to them. So that is what is required to understand. So let's start with the types of ports we are having. So we our study is actually focusing on the which one, well-known ports only. Well-known ports. Well-known ports are ranging from 0 to 1023. These are the number of ports which are possible, right?
Sir,
Yeah,
so I have one question.
yeah,
Like you told me there are dynamic ports, like it's a public ports, right? Like because
yeah.
you meant
Anyone can use that port, right?
yeah, so you mentioned that there are a private port. So how can
Hmm.
it be like they are public ports? So how can we use as a private ports?
No, no. There is nothing like means it is not like public and private. It is like within the system. It is up within the operating system. So whenever you are using desktop or any server, so whatever is the operating system, they will decide those. They will control those ports. The rules which we write in that will be controlled. Similarly, if I'm using any hardware like any kind of device like firewall and any other thing, they are also having the port. So we can even control that also. So
So
whenever your any application or any data is about to enter into your system or computer, so it has to end somewhere. So let's say you are using email. So for email, there is separate port number. So if traffic comes with IP address but with different port number, so your that traffic will come to email. And sometimes you are listening to some, playing certain video games. So that is using different port address. That time we can assign some dynamic or private ports. So some are well-known ports that are used for specific purpose, and we should know these uh, well-known ports. Registered ports, it is whenever any application gets installed in our system, it registers that hence onwards I will be using this particular port address from where I will be receiving and giving my traffic to the internet. Okay.
but the
Yeah.
my question is like
Yeah.
if we are using the dynamic ports, they are public. So how
Hmm.
can we make sure
The
that the port is secure
dynamic is
where
not
we
public. Dynamic is private. Okay. So
but
they are dynamic. Hmm.
how can we make sure that the whatever we are transmitting are is getting on the receiving
Got it.
end.
Okay. So see, dynamic means whenever you try to start any new session. Let's say I'm within a LAN, okay, and my colleague is also in the
Okay.
same LAN, and I
Hmm.
am trying to send some file or some comment to that colleague. So I can just do some internal local LAN chat. So local LAN chat, whenever I'm trying to go, then I can use any dynamic port address. It is required as and when it is needed. But once you start the session, for that entire session time, it will be valid. Once your session gets over, then only that port will be destroyed. That port will be removed. So that is the meaning of dynamic. So whatever you are asking, that is correct. That if it is dynamic, then how can we understand it if your port number gets changed later? So that is correct. But whenever session starts, they understand, they come to an agreement that for this particular session, we'll be using this port only. So that port will be utilized, and after that, it is removed. And next time again, if you want to start, then and maybe you get another port address which is available. So that is what is the dynamic means. Port number is not fixed, but whenever session starts, then it will be fixed for that time being. Okay,
Okay, so we use for TCP we use three-way handshaking to
right.
confirm the destination and destination address and everything. So is there any way we can confirm that whatever we are trying to transfer to that particular port on the destination is the same port we want to transfer?
Yeah. So at the time of TCP handshake, what happens is we will send the sync. So whenever we send the sync at that time, which kind of traffic is there? So if it is within the intranet or whether it is internet. So if it is internet, it is already fixed that we are going to communicate through the browsers. So we have to know. So these are the well-known ports that is used for that. So that is called CNC, command and control also. So these ports are helpful there. So TCP and UDP is actually offering the services like HTTP or HTTPS. So that is all these things are available into seven-layer architecture or TCP/IP protocol. So there it is mentioned. So when we use TCP or UDP, here you can use UDP. But here, if it is HTTPS, we have to strictly use TCP, or we can also use this. Uh, TCP is also used here, but for secured, it is only TCP which should be used. So whenever I talk about TCP or UDP port, then means they are going to communicate through browser or internet. So whenever they are using through browser or internet, we have port number 80 and port number 443. Now these are the port names or port addresses, and they belong to this 02 and 023 uh, port, which is called as well-known port. So these are the regular practice which are used by the OS or operating system or any whoever is architecting the particular app or doing something. So that time they have to take this into account that my traffic will be listened through this particular port address. So for browsing thing, we have only these two ports, port number 80 and port 443. On a side note, one can use port 8080 also sometime for the local intranet. So this is the port number which is already uh, considered. That is why they are called as well-known ports. If I'm using anything other than these numbers, they will become the registered port or dynamic port. So that is used only when the applications or within the applications they need to route the traffic. Okay.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll just carry out further. Then also let's see if your doubt sustains. Then we can again discuss on that. So
Okay, sir.
here we'll start with the port number. First, it is called as FTP port. So these are the well-known ports, and they are very vulnerable port. So whenever you are connecting to any server, where whether your server is at the any data center, maybe that is called as on-prem server, on-premise, or your server is present on any public cloud hosted place like on AWS, Azure, or Oracle or OCI. So wherever it is there, there we have to communicate through certain protocol. So at that time, we need to decide the port. So we have to make sure these ports are not open through the internet. If they are open, then they are very vulnerable. Anybody can install any rootkit software or RC can be done. So remote control, remote code execution can be done. So these are the various types of attacks which can happen via this port, and no authentication will be performed once it gets the access to this particular port. So that is why we have to be very smart while opening this port to any internet facing. So we have to restrict through the IP. that only this particular IP address should access this vulnerable port and no other IP is allowed. So firewall will make sure only this IP address traffic is going to this particular port, not others. So who will decide that? That rules will decide. So let us first understand the port, then we'll come back to the rule. So what are the rules? Ports, different ports. So these ports you need to remember, because many time even in interview questions people are asking that what are the registered ports, what are the vulnerable ports. So all the CNC ports are vulnerable port because they can bring down the system if they are misconfigured. So we have port number 20. Port number 20 is used for which purpose? They are used for the file transfer protocol, FTP purpose. So we can use FTP protocol with that, and directly if you have access to this from your servers, it can access the data and it can save the data there. So FTP protocol is supported here for the data. And if you want to take certain commands or control commands, you want to perform certain tasks in your remote location server or on your data center which is hosted in your premise only, then we can use 21 port number. So port number 20, port number 21, port number 22. Port number 22 is very famous. Whenever you want to securely log in, you can use SSH, which is called a secure cell. So this is mostly for the login purpose. So in the login purpose, what you provide? ID and password. So whenever you want to use any ID and password, you have to only use this SSH command. So for the Windows OS, there is you have to set up this line for SSH. One can use PuTTY as a software or can use secure cell. Now Windows is also giving PowerShell, their own secure cell like command line interface. So these are available. So this is for secure login into secure remote administration and file transfer. So whenever I want to provide any key or any password or any ID, that time we are using this 22 port number SSH. Then there is port 23. Port 23 is for telnet. Telnet is very important because nowadays like everyone is using this telenet, but this should be used at very extreme precaution because it is not secure. So traffic is not encrypted there, then you can access the remote servers like from examples like AnyDesk or TeamViewer. So you might have used this AnyDesk or TeamViewer. Through that, you can take somebody else's computer screen on your screen, and you can take the command or control from there. Means you are actually accessing the another computer by borrowing that virtual desktop. So virtual desktop or remote access is actually possible through Telnet. So this port name you should remember. 22 is for FTP, 21 is also for FTP, one is for data, one is for control, 22 is for secure shell for login purpose, and 23 is actually not secure and it is used for the remote access. Then there is port number 25. This is for simple mail transfer. So whenever you have any email coming in, so they are only using this port number 25. Your emails are using port number 25 in your system. That this can be configured to the Outlook, maybe configured to your Gmail, or maybe any other mail providing Thunderbird, like if you are using Linux. So there it is connected. Then there is 445 also. So what is 445? It is the MSDS. So it is actually a directory or AD service. So there is SMB port also. This is again very vulnerable port. We entire directory means your uh, means through the directory you can route to any specific path. Means from folder to folder to folder to your actual location you can reach. So that is that folder browsing is supported through this 445 port. So there are several ports. You can refer any internet body or IANA websites where all these port numbers are mentioned in detail. So once you keep on practicing different commands and protocol, these are the general ports. Some more are there. So these are the ports they are used. So they are up to 1024 ports are there. Okay. So then we have port number 135 to 137. They are for remote procedure call. net bios, and for various Windows services like upgrading, updating, we can use that. Then there is 161 and 162, which is for SNMP. Then there is this is for network management and monitoring. If you have any tool installed for packet monitoring, it can use this SNMP. Then there is IMAP. So IMAP is again used for uh, like receiving the email or sending out the email. So we have two protocols, IMAP and POP3. So whenever you are trying to receive the email on, let's say, any system which is not like proper computer systems, let's say your cell phone, maybe your any small device, maybe any dedicated device where only emails can reach. So those devices are using IMAP and POP3. So let's say you want to configure certain particular email on any IoT device. So that IoT device must be having this IMAP and POP thing at these ports. Then there is 123 port. Port number 123 is also you asked by many this many interviewer questions that what is the use of this NTP. So it is very specific use. They are used for over a network. They are synchronizing the computer clock. So if 10 lines are there, or let's say your organization is there, so whenever admin sets the time, so same time is reflected to all the computers who are connected to that particular network. So that is done through this NTP protocol. Then there is Oracle supported database, because we know maximum database is Oracle provided. So they are having this registered port, this well-known port 1431 from the Oracle. Then similarly, there is Oracle SQLnet also, again database service one can use for Oracle as well. So various tools are there, various list is there, and then there is one more very important is this port number 339. So port number 3389 is again, it is called as RDP. RDP is remote desktop protocol. So by running this protocol, you can use TeamViewer, or you can use AnyDesk, all these kind of softwares which can bring the other systems desktop to your computer. So that is called virtual. Okay. Similarly, there are different database server ports are also available. So there are like various type of ports which are available. There is port number 80 for HTTP, and then there is port number 443, that is for secured HTTP. So it is HTTPS, secured website. Okay. So whenever we are using HTTPS, they are nothing but the H HTTP plus SSL. SSL is again secure for the security. So we will use this SSL also for the encryption, which is ensuring the data in the transit is encrypted properly by 256-bit uh, authentication. But these SSL certificates are to be purchased. Okay. So whenever you have any website is there, they are purchasing this SSL certificate, and they are validated at server and client side, so that secure access can be done. So that procedure also we'll see in our upcoming training as well. So these are the various ports which we should know, and many of the ports we should be knowing, and we should not forget those ports. Okay. And this is like a matrix. We'll come to it once we complete our data flow and other things, how exactly like information is flowing. Okay. So now once we know the port, let us talk about the firewall rules. So when we talk about firewall rules, so there we have the rule table. The rule table will have these many columns. So as you can see here, a rule will say any rule will say, let's say the source IP is this. If data is coming from this, let's say to all the server segment, and if it is using this port number 3389, that is the RDP protocol, 22 port number is SSH, 443 is a secured HTTP, and 80 is the insecured HTTP, then 139 is there. So all these ports are used along with this IP, and then we can use this any management session. So this is why how rules are written into the firewall table. So firewall table must have your system, or whenever we are safeguarding any server, we have to make sure that we have to write via this. Okay. If I write 0.0.0.0/0, then this is called as any rule, any IP, any IP version 4 across the globe. And if this is allowed to any one of this port, all these are the secure port. Agar if we are having at this level, then you understand there is like attack can happen. Why? Because anyone can access my ports, and if they can access my port, they can steal, or they can install, they can take the remote access, whatever is there. So whenever we are setting up the rules, one has to make sure that the any rule or 0.0.0 should not be there in the table for any vulnerable port. This can be set for only port number 443 and port number 80. For internal purpose, you can set it to port number 80, and for external internet, you can set it to port number 443. That is all. Similarly, there will be setup which will be having, coming back to this. Okay. So from source, any any means what, your any IP address. So whenever I mention like 0.0.0/0, this is CIDR IP. Okay, so CIDR IP is if it is there base. So whenever we use this kind of IP, it means any, means any IP address across this globe can access. Source means from there traffic can originate. Destination, if I'm writing any, again from any it can come. And services, if I'm accessing, again from any port, like from all 1024 ports, at least well known port. So even up to 65,000 ports. So it can come to any traffic. So that is also not advisable. Okay. So see, traffic should come with restricted IP and restricted port to my web server. But while my web server is going throwing out, at that time I can use any. Means I can communicate, I can send my data to any of the IP address, but I can take the command only for the respective. Let us say I have a web server where I have installed my application. Let's say there is a uh, marketplace or any uh, website is hosted which is like any um, grocery store, or maybe any uh, outlet, means fashion website is there, like Mintra or something, like any webs any type of Amazon or anything. So whatever developer or maybe your business team wants to update in the Mintra website, then they can use this port. Their source is restricted. Only the only the developers will be able to access that server, and they can modify that web server. But while web server is giving the response, it can deliver to any user across the globe. So this is how communication should go between the external internet to web server. So at that time, we have to be very sure about which source address are we using, from where, which destination is there, and which port we are using it. So we have to be very sure. For internet, we should be only using port 80 and 443. Nowadays, even port 80 is not good. People are only using port 443 for the secure communication. Because if you use port 80, what will happen? Your personal data can be easily captured by Wireshark and any other tool like that PCAP tool, which can capture your packet in that particular network, and then they can see your data because it is sent without any encryption. So that is why we have to make sure that we are using the proper port addresses for proper kind of port while accessing the internet, while accessing my data at the server, while taking the remote desktop, all this, or while doing the login. So for the login, we must make sure that we should use only port 22 for the login purpose. For any other purpose, we have to make sure that we are using the respective CNC port only. So that is what is required as a table. So every time we have to make sure that table should be mentioned properly. Source IP should be very restricted. It should not be used. Don't use this any kind of port, because it can give access to any IP address across the globe, any public IP. Through that your system can be rejected or there can be any issues. So this is how firewall rule or rule table is there. So rule table sample. So these are the rules, these are the table that can be written. So it is, see, it is written interface incoming. So from DMZ it is coming. From DMZ interface, let's say it is coming. So there are numbering on the DMZ. It is coming from 45. It is coming. Signaling is coming from 1, and from untrusted it is coming from 28. These are the interface numbers. Then we are having what? Then we are having the source IP address. Source IP address is very much important. 10.140. These are the public IP address which are coming. And you can see signaling is coming from any. Any means 0.0.0.0, means any IP address. And destination is also any particular destination, it can be routed. And what are the services available at that? Only IP, ICMP, and traceroute. And action is permit, means allow that access. But if I talk about any other things like ICMP traceroute for this particular source, so again I can make my destination clear that this IP address can only ping the destination addresses of this. Number of IP decides number of destinations. So this will give you the relation table that from traffic from which source should go to which destination. If my traffic is going from any other destination than whatever is mentioned in the table, then it should not be allowed. Similarly, here you can see 10.230 from is coming to this destination, and let's say it is having all these various ports which are available. Okay, and various TCP, non-TCP, UDP, or system log, or SMTP, SSH, all these types of ports are available, and let's say it is permitted. It means what? It means this source and destinations are actually the kind of servers which are communicating with all the possible protocols which are available. So this is how rules or table is maintained, so that only respective IP address should access the particular destination, or particular destination should send the data to particular source, and they should use only specific service. Even we can restrict by this table, so which is called as restricted services. So service column is saying only which kind of services are available to access, other services are not. Okay, so these are the things related to the rule creation or table creation. So this is at the firewall. This is at the DMZ level. Non and DMZ level will decide which traffic will go to non-DMZ side. So whenever there is any critical security rule, let's say any DMZ interface is available, this is live or actually from the uh, ongoing routers, ongoing firewall which we have accessed, and this is what is the screenshot is there. Let's say firewall this, there is this firewall ID. Firewall ID is having any severity rule. Severity rule means critically or vulnerability rule. So here observation is that source or destination configuration is with any should not be allowed. So this is one of the problematic situation which alert has come, that from any source to any destination is available. What is the services which can be which is used? www dot, and where is that present? It is present in the DMZ zone. So web servers are mostly present into DMZ zone. And what is this CLI? CLI is command line interface. Command line interface says that this kind of access is available through the command line. If you put this into the command line, you can get the access. So this should not be there. So immediately this should be either blocked or destination should be defined again, that only traffic through only this particular IP should reach to this destination, not otherwise. Similarly, again here you can say it is configured with any. So here source is fixed. Any IP address from 100.113.0.0 slash 16 means what? It has the IP range. This will give the range of IPs. How many ranges there? Do you know how to get this range? So if slash 16 is there, it means see total 32 bit is there in the IP address. 16 is already fixed. So how many are remaining? 16. So it will be remaining to power 16. 32 minus 16 equal to this 16 and take this to power. So these many addresses are allowed. Okay, so whenever you have these kind of services, so actually this is very broader. Okay, slash 16 should not be followed. Even we can restrict it more. We can only use, let's say I want to use only 100 IP. So I have to put my slash values so as it can give only access to 100. So 2 power, how much is close to 100? So let's say 2 power 5 is 32. So 2 power 6 will be 64. So 2 power 7 will be 128, means 7. So 32 minus 7, that means that should be there. So 32 minus 7, so that will lead to 25. So slash value should be 25. So if I put slash value 25, then only 128 number of IP addresses can only access. That is the range. Let's say my office is having those many 100 computers, and I don't want to use any other computer outside my organization to access anything. So then we can restrict the source. Means we don't have to mention multiple IP of the same LAN. We can just use the slash value, and using the any rule I can send. So this is how this for the particular uh, severity, we get the DMZ interface, we can analyze, and there are various tools which can generate this table. It is called scanning. When we do the scanning, we get these alerts that there is any rule available. We should again review those, and we should change those if it is required. So there are plenty of things that we should know, that how firewall is being accessed, which rules are created, so that attackers should not be able to gain the access to my server. That is what is required. Similarly, for the websites also we can do it. So in website, if I talk about the websites, so websites are having a web address, but backend mein we have the IP address actually. Web address is backed by IP address, which will be resolved by DNS servers, and then we'll send the command through any desktop or any PC or from any server. We put this, then we can get the access to this website, and we get the access to this. These things will be delivered here. So that website access can be done via port number 443 or port number 80. So along with your IP, which is encapsulating TCP, and TCP is actually having inside its port 443 number or port number 80. So this together will form a packet. So a packet is generally having IP address plus headers of the other upper layers. So this is how website accessing or other part is done. That time we have to make sure that they are having proper ports. Now the topic, we have completed firewall, we have completed detection part, how different tables are there, and we should not allow any random IP to access our critical ports, which is called as CNC port. Now we will come to this security control. So in the security control, we have, let's say, like honeypot. So honeypot is nothing but the it is the system which is lure for the attackers. Okay, so I know that if I keep something open, let's say I have made one file available at the internet, and I made this as public access, open to all, public access. So in that public access, let's say I have a folder which I have created as movie. So now everybody will think that it is a movie folder and they will try to access. Maybe some fake movie name will be written in there. But inside that, what is there? Oh, there will be honeypot. Honeypot is like you uh, lure the attacker, and where you already from outside it looks like it is a safe or it is anything, or it is like a, let's say for ants it is like a sweet. When ants come into that honeypot, they get stuck, they get trapped. So this is how this honeypot works. So attacks honeypot thinking that it is the victim's network, and then they end up by giving their own identity over here if they are not very much cautious. Let's say they are using the any internet without using VPN, so we can get their location through their IP addresses. So these are the things which are possible through honeypot. So honeypot is kept actual internet where firewall is there and real network is safe, but in the honeypot it is directly connected to open internet and anybody is able to access. But once they access, their computer gets infected. Even reverse attack can be possible by using these honeypots. So they are actually used at many places as a safeguard also. Okay. So whenever so that was the like security controls. So I'll just circle back to what we started in the starting, this. So security control, what we wanted to implement through the firewall. Every firewall should be having a particular IP address, port names, and the firewall should be placed into proper DMZ zone so that on the internet facing application should have access to it. And then we can use some intelligent softwares like antivirus, like any other intrusion detection systems which can detect that suddenly we are getting spike in the traffic, and there can be a DDoS attack, or there can be any honeypot or any other attack. It can scan for the malwares. And similarly honeypot is there, which is a fake network which will be created, a fake computer where attackers think that this is the actual computer, and this can safeguard your computer. So sometimes bigger organizations have already created the honeypot so that attackers are directed to that side only, and their system may remain safe. So now that control part is over. So now we can honeypot. After that, we can go for security testing. So next thing will be security testing. So security testing means you deliberately want to test your system whether your system is vulnerable or not. So you check your house log and passcodes, all these things, whether by not providing proper identity, can anyone enter at my society or at my home. Similarly, whether anyone can enter at my computer or maybe in my cell phone, maybe in my network, maybe in my server. So that for that particular purpose, what is to be done? Security testing is to be done. So testing gives what? It gives idea about exploits or backdoor or any possible attacks. So all these are possible if we do the testing. So when every organization has a team, they are called a security team. They will be continuously doing the scanning. So one we can do is the vulnerability scanning. Second, what we can do, we can deliberately do the pen testing. This is called proactive approach. Proactive approach means I myself is actually trying to break my own system and check whether my system is breakable or not, whether I can enter in the system or not. So that is called pen testing. Then we have the security auditing. So security auditing is checking all the controls, whether they are in the place or not, and how effective are they. So these are the things related to security controls. Okay. So so that is what is there as a thing. So there are various tools available for all these purpose. Okay. So we'll see them one by one as and when we progress into this, and how audit and other things are there. And then we'll come to this security operations center. Okay. So how all these things are performed by SOC team. So there is a NOC team which is there for network operation, and there is SOC team which is for the security operation. So SOC team is again they are continuously working. NOC team is there, which are again they are continuously working. They are keeping your system up, and SOC team is making sure that your system is actually having proper security in place, and any access is there, whether it is legitimate access or not. So all these things are possible. So testing, audit, and pen testing, all these are the further parts of the network security. And network security, in the last we have the SOC team. How exactly SOC team is working? What, because in the cyber security, SOC team's role is very much crucial. So at the network level, or SOC team is responsible for securing the entire network. So for that, they are continuously doing all these activities so that they can also understand their systems of strength and weakness, and can go to different uh, can take the proper measures to remediate that. And if any attack is happening at the moment, how to do the mitigation. So again, for that there has to be some protocol to be followed, that is called as a run book. So these things are there which should be available at every organization who is trying to comply with the cyber security. Sometime audit is coming, so in the audit again they are asking for the rules whether they are in place. If any attack happens, how will you mitigate that? And after attack, what, how will you remediate that? So they are the checking points. So everywhere government is of the all globally, everyone is making it is a mandatory rule that everyone must have a cyber security team at your organization, because this is required for every organization. Almost every organization is online. They are having their data, they are having their valuable customers data, their private data, their personal identifiable identity PIIs. So all these things are available, and to comply with the norms led by the government and others, so one has to adhere to that. So for that, this SOC team, security analysis, security testing, and overall cyber security of that particular organization is very much required, right? So this is we are stopping at today. So in the next training session, we'll start with the SOC.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah,
So tomorrow will be our next session or the next week?
yeah. Actually, I want to keep one on tomorrow as well. So if it is possible, let me know.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
But the same timing, right?
Yeah, timing will be evening only for IT your time zone. Is it
Okay.
possible?
So, sorry, what timing,
Uh,
sir?
that evening time only. This the same time which we are doing it now.
Okay, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, okay, sure.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.